Okay, so I got a very strange question about my drawing. And I'm in the middle of drawing Norman at the moment. As you can see, all the ink is still all gooey and wet. And the question is about these shoes. The question was that since it's a true story, why does Norman have these long pointed shoes? Well, the story of Norman and his pointy shoes is a very, 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 very simple one. Let me explain. There, as you can see, Norman on my drawing desk. Norman has these long pointy shoes because at the time, Zoe had bought Norman these long kind of slippers, and the slippers came from a holiday that she had in Greece. And part of the present, the returning gift, was a pair of very long slippers. And they were from Greece, and they were these slippers, and they had like a ball, a fluffy ball on the end. And over time, the fluffy ball fell off. But Norman still wore them. So Norman wore these slippers until they basically fell apart. And he wore them only because Zoe had bought him these gift. So the shoes became a very, very, very special meaning that these slippers, although they were quite thin and quite uncomfortable, they were a very, very important part of his daily use. He would wake up and he would wear these slippers, and he wore these slippers until they basically fell apart, until they were unusable and unwearable. So the basic slipper looks like this. So I'm going to attempt to draw this slipper and it is a very long shoe-like slipper, and it had lots of kind of decoration around here, and the slipper came down almost to a point, and on the end was a kind of a fluffy ball. So, and it had a very, very, very thin base to it. So that was basically what the slipper looked like. And it was kind of like a kind of leather of some sort, like a very thin leather. And over time, the ball fell off. So basically the slipper kind of looked a little bit like that when you were wearing it and your foot would go in there. So that's basically, as you can see from the rough idea from Norman, that is where he gets his funny, odd shoes from. So I hope that answers your question about the very strange and wonderful slippers that Norman wears on his lovely, lovely, lovely pointy shoes in the book of Worilips, which you can go and buy at any time you want. So thank you very much for your questions, and I'll talk to you soon. We've got more drawings coming on. I've still got to finish this drawing here, but there's drawings going on every day. And I think I've just posted up True Love. And if you want a little bit of a sneak preview of what True Love looks like, wow, it looks a little bit like that. And that is today's drawing. I had a lot of problems with the cameras, but please go along and have a look. And I will see you all later on the channel for some more funky drawing. See you later.